Welcome and thank you for joining us today for this live webinar, What's New in Summer 22. My name is Mary Balmer, Director of Product Management at Accounting Seed. I have over 25 years of experience developing tax and accounting software, and I'm thrilled to be presenting today's webinar with Brian Swinehart, one of our amazing and awesome software engineers on our development team, and James Hunter, our guru of all things accounting and Accounting Seed. So today, we're going to talk about the new features and enhancements included in the Summer 22 release, but we won't have time to cover them all. So please make sure you review the release notes, which will include all the details of all of the features and enhancements, as well as any required configuration that may be needed so that you can begin using those features. By the way, you may have noticed that the release naming convention changed with this release from naming after flowers to naming after seasons. This is consistent, of course, with Salesforce naming conventions. It's much easier, especially when considering flowers that begin with the letter N. Your choices are greatly limited there. So you will begin seeing our releases named after seasons from this point on. We're going to see a demo today of the new foreign currency translation feature included in Summer 22, the new automated customer refunds feature. We'll talk about updates to the new amortization wizard, consolidation, scheduled post, and other enhancements that we've made to the product. We'll also take a look at the release schedule so that you know when to expect Sandbox Pushes and production pushes with Summer 22. And then at the end, we'll open it up for questions. We'd love to answer any questions you may have, so make sure you type them into the questions box, not the chat box. You can certainly chat with us, but we'll be looking at the questions box for your questions, and we'll address them following the presentation. And just a note on recording this webinar, we are recording it, and a link to the recording will be shared with you after the presentation. All right, foreign currency translation. We're going to look at a demo of this in product, but first I want to go through a high level of what we're doing under the hood, because much of it is done under the hood. You have to do very little, some configuration up front, and then the system does the rest for you. So when we talk about foreign currency translation, what we're talking about is you have a foreign currency subsidiary, and you need to roll that up into a parent, and the parent's currency is different from the subsidiary. So what has to take place is you've got this trial balance in a foreign currency, and you need to translate all of the balances of every single GL account over into the parent currency. Well, the rates you use are, in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. You use the rate as of the last day of the month. Okay, but not only that, you have to use different rates for different GL accounts. So for example, if you're looking at cash or accounts receivable, you may need to use the current rate effective as of the last day of the month. Maybe for your equity or fixed assets, you may need to use a historical rate. And then maybe on your P&L, you may need to use a monthly average rate. So you have to use different rates, and those different rates are going to be multiplied by your balances to come up with your reporting currency balances. But when you use different rates and you're multiplying across, that trial balance is not going to net to zero. So we have this GL account called cumulative translation adjustment. And this GL account is used as a plug, right, to make sure that your trial balance after we've translated is nets to zero. And then we'll know for sure that your financial statements will balance, when you produce your financial statements. So that is what we're doing under the hood. Now let's actually take a look in the product. Okay, here's my accounting homepage. I'm going to state the obvious, okay, just because I have to state the obvious. We have to have multi-currency enabled in both Salesforce and Accounting Seed. That's a must. To use this feature, both of those need to be, multi-currency needs to be enabled in both, okay? The next step is to go and configure your ledger hierarchy. Now, Accounting Seat allows for multi-level consolidation. So you can build a multi-level ledger hierarchy if you need to. I created a single level, but just know that you can build a multi-level hierarchy. So you would go to Reports, you would go to Setup Consolidations to build that ledger hierarchy. All right, and so here I've got one in my demo org. And as you can see, something different in summer 22 as compared to previous releases, I can now add ledgers of different currencies to my hierarchy. Before summer 22, you were only able to add ledgers where the currency was the same. So now in summer 22, I can add ledgers of different currencies, and this is going to then let the system know when I consolidate, it needs to translate first before rolling up the numbers, okay? So once I've configured my ledger hierarchy, well then I'm gonna need to create that cumulative translation adjustment account. Remember, we talked about that as the plug. So let's go to Accounting Home, we'll go to Setup, and we'll go to General Ledger Accounts. In my org, I did create a cumulative translation adjustment GL account, and so you'll need to do the same, okay? Once you create that GL account, then you have to tell the system which GL account do you want to use as your plug, as your cumulative translation adjustment account. And so to do that, you go back to Accounting Home, you go to Setup, and this time we're going to go over here under Configurations to default GL accounts. Okay, we added a new setting for this CTA. It's abbreviated because you can only say cumulative translation adjustment so many times. So we abbreviate that to CTA, and that's actually an industry standard abbreviation. So here's your setting, CTA GL account. You select that GL account that you created for that purpose, and you're set to go there. Now, when we think about that overview slide that I showed you, you have to translate these balances using different rates. Well, we have to tell the system which rate type you want to use for each of your GL accounts. So let's go back to Accounting Home, and we'll go back to General Ledger Accounts. And this is all just one-time setup that I'm showing you here. We have a new field on the GL account, and it's called rate type. And so you'll go in for each and every GL account that you have, you want to set the rate type that you want used in the foreign currency translation. Okay, so right here, I've just used a couple of different rate types, but you'll probably have some historical rate types that you want to put in here as well. You can add whatever rate types you want. It's completely configurable. So you can add your own rate types, and you can use whatever rates you want to use to translate. Now, speaking of rates, after you set this rate type, you set up all your different rate types you want to use, and then you select it on your GL accounts. And one more point on this, you have to set it on each and every GL account, because if you don't, when you consolidate, you'll get an error. And the error will tell you, oh, I couldn't find the rate type on one or more of your GL accounts. So you'll need to go back here and set that. So that's something really important to do. So now we've got the rate type, but we have to get the rates in there. So let's talk about the exchange rates. Today, before summer 22, when you have a foreign currency transaction like a billing or a payable, right now we're using the Salesforce dated exchange rate table to go fetch the exchange rate that's applicable as of the date of your source transaction. And we're setting that, and we're using it to convert to ledger currency, okay? We cannot use the Salesforce dated exchange rate table when doing foreign currency translation, because we have different rate types that we have to set. So we need the ability to say, oh, okay, effective January 31, my exchange rate for the current rate is X, for the monthly average is Y, and maybe for my historical rate is Z. We have to set multiple exchange rates for the same period, and Salesforce data exchange rates table doesn't allow for that. It just doesn't support that. So we created our own exchange rates. Okay, so you go up to App Launcher and you start typing exchange rates, and you'll see the tab that will be created for you. When you go to this tab, you can see this gives you the ability to set up rates similar to the dated exchange rates in Salesforce. You're going to enter an effective from. The effective to is actually going to be calculated the next time you insert a rate right after that of the same rate type, and of course the same from and to currency code. Now let's talk about the rates that you put in this table. Again, going back to your foreign currency transaction, you're actually going from a foreign currency to a ledger currency. Now we're going from ledger currency to reporting currency, so it's the inverse rate that we're using to get to our reporting currency. So that's really important to know when you're populating this exchange rate table, okay? How do you get rates into the table? We're going to be publishing a recipe, and that recipe is really just code that you can implement in your org to automatically download these rates for you, okay? That will be published. I don't think it's published yet, but we'll certainly be publishing that and letting you know where you can find that. You can also really, if you don't have a lot of rates, you can click on New, and you can create your exchange rate record here, and it's very easy to do. As you can see, there are just a few fields here. Or if you want to import them, I imported all of these rates into my dev org from a CSV file using Data Import Wizard, so it's very easy to do an import as well. When you're doing foreign currency translation, many times it's just done at the end of the month. As you're consolidating, you're closing your periods, you consolidate, you kick off the translation process, you translate the balances so that you can roll them up. And that's usually done at the end of the month. And so you may not need to download rates every day. You may say, you know what, I'm just going to download the rate at the end of the month. Now, when we look at this monthly average, we'll be calculating that for you if you choose to download daily, right? But you would have to download every day to get an accurate calculation of that monthly average rate, although many sites publish monthly averages. And so you can choose to just download the monthly average from a published site. Okay, so now that we have rates in here, we have all of our configuration done. Really, the only other thing you've got to do at this point is close your periods, run the consolidation, and view your reports. So let's go back to Accounting Home, and this time we're going to go to Run Reports, and instead of Set Up Consolidations, we're going to go to Run Consolidations. Okay, so in my org, I had already run it, the consolidation for 2022-01. We built this in a way where the translation process is executed when you consolidate, okay? We talked about it internally, and we thought, you know, we could give them a way to run it separate from the consolidation process. But when you look at what you're doing here, normally the only time you really need to translate your balances is when you want to consolidate up. There would be no other need to translate. But we did write it in a way to where if we hear from you after this release and you say, you know what, I really want the ability to translate without having to consolidate, you know, let us know. We need that feedback. But right now in summer 22, you know, we looked at it from a usability point of view, and if that is the case, at most times you'll want to just kick off that translation process when consolidation is run. There's no additional click for you, no place for you to go to first run translation and then run consolidation. It's all being run for you when you consolidate. Okay, so similar to what you currently have regarding consolidations, you would just go, you know, and run your consolidations, pick your period. You can run for, if you have a multi-level hierarchy, you can run for the whole hierarchy or just for a particular level. Okay, so if you want to run for everything, you just select to run it. And let's say I've run it for 2022-01, so I'll run it for 2022-02. Okay, you select your period there, click on run, and you'll see on this page that, you know, it will be in the process of running, right? It's showing you it's in progress here. Oh, did I pick? Oh, I should have picked 2022-02. All right, well, let me refresh, and we'll see. This is completed. Oh, no, it is 2022. Okay, I just replaced the 2201 with 2022-02. So you see that the status now is completed. Okay, so now I can run reports on this period. Okay, if the status returned a failure, where you would want to go is this tab called Automated Job Results. I have this added to my custom app here. You can add that tab if you like as well, or you can just go to your app launcher and select it. So when you go to Automated Job Results, it's going to show you if there were any errors. It will help point you to the right place to go so you can get additional information about that error. So you can see the job type here is consolidation routine. I didn't have any errors, so it's just showing me that 1 succeeded, 0 failed, and it's got notes here. So if it failed, then you would just click on this notes and it would take you to a link and show you exactly what went wrong. Okay, so it's very important to know if the consolidation does not complete successfully. So now we've got this completed as of 2022-02. Now it's just a matter of running reports. You're done. As I mentioned, the foreign currency translation process kicked off when I consolidated. I did not have to run it separately. So now I'm just going to go to my standard reports, and I am going to first select a trial balance, and I'm going to run it for one of my entities first. Before I run it for my consolidated entity, I'm going to select my Ireland entity. And now we have this new currency field here because what we've done is after we translate the balance, you now have a choice of running the consolidated results. So you would select your consolidated ledger here, or you can go to your individual entities, select the entity, and now you have a choice of running it in either euro, which for me is my base currency for my Ireland entity, or I can run it in the reporting currency, which is USD. Now I have two options here, and we do know that some customers want to see those run reports on those translated balances, or of course you're going to want to run reports on the base currency as well. So let's run it first in the base currency for 2022-05. Okay, we're going to run the trial balance. And so when we view the trial balance, we should not see any cumulative translation adjustment because we're running it in base currency, right? So it's currently running here. When we get done, we'll look at that trial balance and you'll see that there's no cumulative translation adjustment, okay? So let's go ahead and go into that now. And if you want to see if you forgot what currency you selected, you can click on more information at the top. You can see, oh, okay, I ran this for currency euro. And so right here we see we have accounts receivable 357,524 in euro. And we don't see any currency translation adjustment because it was run in base currency. My trial balance nets to 0. Now let's go back and run the same entity, but let's run it in the reporting currency of USD, okay? I'm gonna click on run. So what it's doing now, it's gonna go grab the translated balance that had been generated. So now I've got, if I go over here, I've got period, oop, did I run it as of 2022-05? I should have run it as of 22-02. Okay, let's try doing that again. And it will run. So if you don't have any translated balances, it will run, but it won't show you the proper results here that you want to see. So we've got our Balmer Consulting entity, IE, and it's run in my reporting currency. So let's take a look at that. Okay, this is where you're going to see the cumulative translation adjustment amount because it had to translate balances using different rates. And so it needed to plug the difference. And so it plugged the difference here. And now I'm able to see my trial balance for Balmer Consulting IE, and it's in the reporting currency. Of course, if I go back here, after you've consolidated, you're going to, of course, want to run your consolidated results. And the only currency making sense in that case is the reporting currency for your consolidated results. So you've got your accounting period 2022-02, and you can run it that way. So you see nothing has changed in the reporting, the way that you're going to be reporting on the results of the translation. The only difference is this currency field. You have a choice now to run the child ledgers in their base currency or in their reporting currency. Okay, so I hope this was helpful. Again, we're going to be monitoring the questions. So if you have any questions related to this, put them in the questions box and we'll address them following the presentation. We're going to go back in here now to see what's next. Automated refunds. Okay, we're going to have Brian demonstrate automated refunds to you, but before he does, I wanted to kind of give you some information on how you used to be able to issue customer refunds and how you're going to do it in summer 22. And you'll begin to see very quickly why we did this. Before the summer 22 release, if you needed to issue a customer refund, you had to create a billing. You had to apply the overpayment or duplicate payment to that billing. You had to create a payable. You had to create a cash disbursement. You had to apply the cash disbursement to the payable. And then if you needed to print a check, you'd print the check from the cash disbursement. So many steps involved in that process. And that customer refund never showed up in the customer statement because it was on the AP side of things. So we recognized that this was a usability issue and we wanted to make some improvements here. So our new automated customer refund process, one click to create that customer refund, and that customer refund is going to show up on your customer statement. So we hope that you're going to like this new feature, and I am going to turn this over to Brian so that he can demonstrate this feature for you.
Thanks, Mary. So we set up a couple scenarios here. So the first one here is sometimes maybe you have a customer and you bill them and they pay, but they accidentally send a second check due to some clerical error. So as Mary mentioned in the past, that was not an easy process to correct that. So let's just look at how we have changed it so that you can just do it in a couple clicks now. So here's my extra payment, extra cash receipt. Okay, so now there's a refund button here. And if I click this, everything comes up with the amount pre-populated. So here you can also adjust the refund amount. So maybe the customer just happened to overpay by, a few $100s, let's say. You could refund a partial amount and apply the rest to the billing. So I will just confirm. And then we can see here, another cash receipt 06 was created. So if I come here, this is for, you see, negative 500. So that would indicate cash going out rather than coming in. And if I look at applied to, it actually automatically created the credit here, so a negative billing. And this cash receipt was applied to it, so it's automating all that behind the scenes for you, and you don't have to worry about anything extra there. And once you're ready to print a check, if you're issuing the refund via check, there's the print check button, just like there is on cash disbursement. It brings up the amount, and it's of course positive on the check, and ready for you to print out and send to the customer. And close these up. And I had one other scenario to run through. And okay, here we go. That was just a customer, maybe they just have some credit on their account and they just want that returned to them as cash rather than holding the credit. So the same steps, the negative billing, so they have credit memo, and we can refund that with the new refund button here. and a new cash receipt's created. And in this case, it's just attached to that, right, the credit. And same thing, can print the check directly from here and mail it out to the customer. That's everything that I had to show around that, but you can see it is much, much simpler than previously.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Brian. Appreciate that. Now I am going to grab the screen back. All right, so we're going to move on and talk about some of the other things that we've done in this release. So we've made some additional updates to amortization. So let's talk about what we did in the last release and then talk about what we did in this release in terms of the updates. So in the last release, the amortization wizard was redesigned. So we had this button to amortize your revenue or expenses, and you had to remove that from your page layout and bring another button in to add it to your page layout to be able to launch this new amortization wizard. So if you haven't done that yet, you'll want to do that. We increased the number of periods over which you can amortize your revenue and expenses from 12 to 60. And we had this new monthly amortization option. So if you recall, prior to that, the only option for amortizing was daily. And so what you'd end up with is, divide by the number of days in each period. So you'd have amortization going up and down across your periods. And we heard from a lot of customers that, saying, we just want even split. If I want to amortize over 6 months or 12 months, I want the numbers to be the same across those periods. So we gave you that in the last release. We also enabled this via API and allowing you to customize with Salesforce Flow. And we gave you the ability to preview the calculations before we created the amortization entries and posted them. So that's what we did prior to the Summer 22 release. In Summer 22, we added another method, and it's called Straight Line Prorated Monthly. Okay, so what does that do? Well, first of all, when you bring up this wizard, make sure you're seeing this now. You've got the three methods. The names were tweaked a little bit to make them more consistent. So you can see we have Straight Line Prorated Monthly. That's the new method. You should also see Straight Line Full Month and Straight Line Daily. So the Straight Line Full Month is just divided evenly over the number of periods you give me. The Straight Line Prorated Monthly is divided evenly over the number of periods you give me, but based on my start date in the first month, prorate it, and then pick up the remaining amount in the last period, which will be an additional period. Now that's very common industry standard averaging convention, that is used, and so we've added that, and based on feedback that we've heard from you, if you want additional methods to use for amortizing revenue, expenses, depreciating your assets, let us know. Please let us know. We've created something now where it's going to be easier for us. Well, Brian, nothing's ever easy, right? But we've created a way now that we can add more methods to this if needed. Okay. Consolidating by GL variable. When you consolidate and you're viewing your consolidated results, you're going to want to view them across your dimensions. This is why you configure dimensions. Well, when we initially introduced consolidation, we did not give you that ability to consolidate across your GL accounting variables. We gave you multi-level consolidation. You could only consolidate for the same currency, and we had no support for consolidating across dimensions. So in Summer 22, we're taking care of that. You now can bring in ledgers of different currencies. We'll do the foreign currency translation. And now you will have the ability to view the consolidated results across dimensions. What do you need to do to be able to view the results across your dimensions? Really, it's just when you're running a report, you're going to select your GL accounting variable to filter. Okay. In prior releases, these GL variable fields were disabled because we didn't have the ability to consolidate across dimensions. Now they are enabled. So when you pull up, say, a P&L report and you're running that and you want to run it against your departments, your consolidated results, for a particular department, you can do that now. Okay. Just wanted to make you aware of that. Scheduled posts, that's something that a lot of you use, and we're happy that you're doing that because you're optimizing your solution. You're automating as much as you can. And so we heard from you, there we go. We heard from you to say, you know what, I love that background job. I like to use it, but I don't necessarily want to post all source objects, the source records from the source objects that are ready to post. I want to pick and choose what I want to post in a particular job. So we're giving you that ability now. The scheduled job, you're still going to select it on the automated jobs page. You're still going to select scheduled job, but when you, or scheduled post, but when you do, it's going to bring up this dialog here, and this is going to allow you to choose what source objects you want to post, okay? And at what time. You've got your starting time here. So this means I can go in, let's say I want to post billings at 9 a.m., 12 p.m., and 5 p.m. every day. Okay, I can set up 3 different jobs to run, and I can select billings. Or maybe I want to select billings and billing cash receipts. You can select whatever you want, any number of different items here. You can create as many jobs as you want, starting at various times throughout the day. And those will run in the background. Okay. In addition to that, if you're like me, you want everything now. This is what Amazon has done to us all. We expect everything to be done almost instantaneously. So, you know, if you've created some billings and you've got some other things in post and you just want it run now, you don't want to wait for it. You have to get these financial statements out the door. You can go to the run on demand job and again, select scheduled post. And when you do that, this will come up for you again. You'll select what you want to run on demand, click run now, and that job will kick off right here now. Okay. Other enhancements, once again, this is not inclusive of everything that we've done in summer 22. This is a subset, and I just wanted to go through some of these items with you, emphasizing the fact that we listen to you, we hear you. When you submit things for cases, or you submit things, in the community, we're listening and we're responding to your feedback. Okay, we had, one or more customers that have this situation. They bill for services, and those services are going to be performed sometime in the future. But they're going to go ahead and create the billing and post it in a future period, and then they're going to collect prepayment. They require that their clients pay them ahead of time. So they want the ability to create the cash receipt in the current period, post the billing in the future period, apply that cash receipt to a future billing, and have that all done, have it be paid via the payment link. Okay, so we've given you the ability to do that in summer 22. Payroll file import is an easy way to import data. I know many of you are using that. We heard from you, some of you wanted us to add additional fields to that import, specifically the project task, and account. And so we've given you the ability to do that in summer 22. You can now use that payroll file import, include all of the fields that were there before, plus the project task, and account. Okay. This third item only applies to foreign currency purchase orders, all right? When you have a foreign currency purchase order, what we have been doing is setting the currency conversion rate at the first time you receive on that purchase order, okay? It's important to set that rate and use that same rate so that everything balances out in the end. However, we heard from some of you that sometimes even before you receive any inventory, you need to prepay on that purchase order. And so we needed to give you a way to get that currency conversion rate set on the purchase order without having received first. So what we've done is changed up the logic a little bit so that if you have not received on a purchase order and you need to issue a payable created from the purchase order, we will set the currency conversion rate to be the effective rate as of the issue date of the payable. Okay, so now you can do that in summer 22. The next one relates to early pay discounts. In prior releases, if you had just a partial credit memo applied to a payable, you would not be able to take that discount. okay? Because we're looking at it as well. You only get the early pay discount on the full amount, but we do recognize that sometimes you are eligible for that early pay discount, even if there's a partial credit memo applied to the payable. So we've given you the ability to do that now, to allow discounts when a credit memo has been applied to the payable. For those of you using our out-of-the-box automation to create billings from opportunities, we heard from you saying, hey, I see you're setting the billing date to the opportunity closed one date. And for our business, it makes more sense to set the billing date to be today's date. Okay, we heard you, and we made a change as a result. We didn't want to change the logic completely because there may be some of you that like using the close one date and using that in the billing. So we created a toggle so that you can tell the system which one do you want to use. Do you want to use today's date when you create the billing, or do you want to use the closed one date? And leaving it up to you to decide. So you're going to see that on the settings page, the enablement settings page, where you can set that. And then we also heard from you saying, hey, sometimes I have to create multiple PDFs in one day for some things, and it's hard for me to differentiate between those PDFs because they all have the same name. So we looked at the naming conventions for billing, purchase orders, and packing slips, and we created a different naming convention so that that will help you differentiate between those various PDFs. So now the PDFs are going to be named as follows. Will be the customer name underscore document number underscore date time stamp. Okay, so you'll see that with summer 22, the naming of those PDFs will be a little bit different. Then a couple of other items. We created a GL accountant permission set. So we know that some of you have finance teams where you may have a GL accountant that works primarily in the GL, and they're creating journal entries, they're running reports, they're reconciling, but they're not really in billings, cash receipts, they're not in payables, cash disbursements, they may not even be doing bank recs. They're just in the GL. So we created a new permission set so that you can assign those out as appropriate to GL accountants. And we have a GL account ERP if you're using orders and inventory. Now, Brian, there was a new thing we did here to allow you to run financial reports via Flow. So I was hoping that you can describe what that is.
Sure. Yeah, so this would be, if you get technical, an invocable method. So that just means that some of our code, the Apex code, can be called from a Salesforce flow, which allows you to access it from drag and drop, flow creator that Salesforce has. So I think it makes it more accessible, to a wider audience, admins, and anyone who's familiar with that tool really can invoke one of these reports to run. And that could be anything from, you could have it invoked from a button or triggered by a record change or scheduled to run at a certain time using that flow. So I think it's pretty cool and brings some of the customizations you can do, to tie in with accounting seed, further expands that so to a wider audience.
Yeah, thank you. And again, that's all our theme on trying to help you automate and optimize your solution. Now, James, we were talking about, well, when would we want to use something like that? When the ability to run financial reports via Salesforce Flow, and you brought up a good use case the other day. Maybe when a company closes their books, and they usually close by the 5th day. Wasn't that something that you mentioned the other day, James?
Yeah, so we've had situations where customers wanted to see their reports at the beginning of the day, say for the first 5 work days of the month, as they are preparing to finally close their books. So this is something that you could set up so that each evening you could have your financial reports run, and you would have them sitting on and ready for your executives right there the first thing in the morning. Your executives and his consolidation teams, they could look at what they're doing, see the results, and then take the appropriate actions as they feel fit to get their final results out the door.
Yep, that's a great use case. And so we've given you this, and as you've noticed, we gave you invocable methods, in a prior release, and we will continue looking for ways that we can help you automate and optimize. So if you have, additional ideas for what you'd like to see in the future, please let us know. We are going to first talk about our Sandbox pushes, and then I will show you exactly where you can send us that feedback. So we pushed out summer 22 to your sandboxes on Sunday. Now, if you did not get summer 22 in your sandbox, James, they should submit a support case. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Just shoot us a note, and we can look and see what's going on with it, and also send you the links, and you can go ahead and do the installation yourself.
Okay. And now, as you can see, you're getting about a month before we push to production. So we highly recommend that you get into the sandbox. Take a look at some of these really cool features that we have, and also just test it before it gets pushed out to your production work. Okay, so here are the dates, the plan and production pushes. We will let you know ahead of time. We will always communicate with you right before we're getting ready to push it out, to let you know it's about to be pushed out. It is on Sunday, so we try to minimize just any kind of disruption. It will be on Sunday. It will either be, you'll either be pushed, you'll see the push on June 19, or depending upon which list you're on, you may get it on June 26. Okay. So just a reminder about our support resources. We have this on our website. If you go to accountingseed.com, click on the support tab, you'll see all of these resources here, resources to the knowledge base and the community. You've got, Accounting Seed University. Hopefully you've all been in the Accounting Seed University, and you have other support resources here on this page. This is just a reminder that this is here, and so, take advantage of it and take a look through all of this. And then your feedback, this is what we want. We want you to continually, provide us with this feedback, because we want to be, we're talking to you constantly about what features that we want to see. And when you have feedback suggesting enhancements to already existing features or new features, we want to hear about all of that. So to get there, you would go up to the knowledge base, and there is going to be a link to the community from the knowledge base. So click there into the community. You'll see a feature request forum, and this is the place we want you to go. You can post your request. Others can vote on it, and we do look at the number of votes per request. So all of this, we've actually written a flow that will take all of this information and automatically populate our backlog. So we're looking through this, we're reviewing and looking through it all the time. So if you want to, if there's anything, any idea that you have, anything you'd like to see in the product, please let us know. All right, James, we are ready for Q&A. What are you seeing in that questions box?
A lot of answered questions.
That's good. You've been really on it, haven't you?
Oh, we've been a lot of people asking a lot of questions about. I've seen a number of questions about where we've updated and put things into the amortization world, but whether or not we're going to be doing anything with our depreciation, and that's on the roadmap.
Yes, absolutely. That is definitely on the roadmap. We have talked about that, and we've actually documented some of the things that we want to do with depreciation. So yes, on the roadmap. If there's anything in particular that you'd like to see, I mean, we'll, the way I envision it, and we'll have all the normal fields for depreciating assets. We have our fixed asset record today. We ask you for, acquisition date, place in service date, depreciation method, estimated useful life, averaging conventions, various averaging conventions. If you need special fields for tracking assets for other purposes like property tax or insurance, all of these things, let us know. Let us know what you want in there. We can certainly dream up all of this and provide this in the product, but we want to hear from you. So anyone interested in fixed assets, if you have anything in particular that you want to see in there, let us know.
All right. We've also had a number of questions about some of the checks that are being and how payments are going to be done using our refund. But first off, for the refunds that we're doing, a lot of people noted that there was only the one check option, and that's just a matter of the fact that that's the only option that we have right now. As we move forward, we're looking at enhancements and adding capabilities into Stripe for doing payments and stuff like this. And as we move forward with those functionalities, we're going to be looking at enhancing the functionality for refunds also. So that will be on the roadmap. For another question was check numbers. The system automatically currently with the cash disbursement keeps track of your check number, and the check, when you do the check with the cash receipt, it will automatically grab the correct check number for you. And when you go to do your next cash disbursement, the system is smart enough that it knows that yes, your cash receipt used one, use the next. So the cash, you don't need to worry about the check numbers getting out of whack. Those will be maintained so that they flow through correctly.
Yeah, Brian, you were directly involved in some of that, weren't you? So yes, and we know that we can appreciate the fact that you have one set of checks, check stock, and you're going to use it for customer refunds, or you're going to use it for your cash disbursement. So yes, we will be incrementing that check number for you.
Let me see here. For the scheduled post job, again, auto posting now with this new with summer 22, you can do each one of the different pieces independently of the next. If you need to just do cash receipts, you can only schedule your cash receipts. So remember, again, we want them to be in the approved state so that they will get auto posted. All right. But you can run your cash receipts, you could run your billings, you can run amortizations, you can select and do what it is that you want to post. So for instance, if you use BDC a lot and you know that BDC doesn't auto post your cash disbursements, you could set up your auto post to run just your cash disbursements. And you can actually run that job a couple of times. All right. So that's the beautiful thing about what they've done with the scheduled post is just this. You select what you want and then you schedule it. And that's a beautiful thing.
You're seeing my org still, right?
Yes, we are.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll set up these 3 jobs. So you can see, it could be any combination of anything that I want to schedule. I've got 3 jobs set up. They're set to start at different times, and I can include whatever I want in each job. So you can run these jobs multiple times throughout the day. Okay.
With the use case for running, okay, well, we've talked about the running financial reports on the flows. And again, it's a matter of enabling your management to have the reports available as opposed to, especially some of the reports that might take a little bit more time to run. Let's say if you have a very large org or something, and you want to run them and have them available to your executives. So when they come in the morning, they go in, there it is waiting for them. And that's probably the best reason to have them is convenience, to be able to have them available to you when you need them. Other questions out here, a lot of different things on, auto report, automation, speaking about depreciation. For fixed assets, again, we are, one of the things that we're doing with a lot of our fixed assets and our inventories is we are looking at lifting the hood up and looking at the engine underneath. And, we're looking at how we can improve that overall engine on all of the inventory, the fixed assets, those kind of different things. Those are on our, in the long-term roadmap. And you'll be hearing more about those as more information and more decisions are made on how we want to do all of that. All right. about removing, for those of you who have often asked the question about, my accounting home is listed twice in my app launcher, or the accounting home is set up twice. If there are some ways that you can go about removing those off the app. We're looking into that to try to see if there's a way that we can just set that up automatically. But if you have a specific question or request, shoot us a case. The support team can step you through on how to handle that, or we can help you do that. All right. Again, for the refunds right now, it's only our automation is only through checks. If you want to handle payment outside of writing a check, you certainly are welcome to do that. There's nothing that we're not going to stop you from utilizing ACH or utilizing a different payment method. You just don't run the check. So that is still available for you. One question is, again, I'm not sure if this is on the roadmap, Mary, running a report where they can have a financial report and have it include 5 different variables. So for instance, I want to run a report and have it have GLAV1 and then have the second value, then have the third value, and have that just on one report.
Yeah, so we haven't enhanced that yet. And the reason being that there are some limits that we run up against in the financial reporter. So what we are doing, because we do recognize that you're going to want the ability to do that, we're looking into utilizing CRM analytics as a backend and creating a new financial reporter. Now that's, you heard it here for the first time. We've been discussing this internally. That engine will give us the capability of doing that and so much more. And I'm really excited about that effort. I can't say anything else about that other than we are currently working on that, and we will give you the ability to do that at some point in the future. We do understand that that's a requirement. Now, there was another question here. It's interesting because I've had the same question in my mind, and I was actually going to look at doing some of this in a demo org, but you asked the question, and I'm thinking, well, maybe we should just go ahead and put this in as a feature. You want that month-end close Salesforce flow process, right, where you can do several things, whether it be some easy, send out, reminders to people to do this or that or the other thing, or to run those reports, as James mentioned. So we have, thought about doing that in a demo org, but maybe we'll take a deeper look to see maybe that's something that will be included in the product. I think it's a great idea. Everybody has to go through month-end close. The easier you can make that, the better, right?
Another question that we've gotten is with the refunds. Our refunds right now is on each of the CRs, our cash receipts. And the questions come in, what if I've got multiple cash receipts that are for the same vendor that I need to refund, or same customer? And currently, you can own it's each cash receipt is refunded individually. We don't have yet any aggregation function in there, so I can take multiple cash receipts, aggregate them into one single refund. That's not in the system at the moment. Correct?
Right. Yeah, that is correct. And Brian, I'm looking to you on this. So imagine you're at a cash receipt list view, and you've got 3 that you need to refund. That's not something, you can't select all 3 and click on refund, can you? Right now, we may not have that in summer 22.
Right.
No.
Yeah. We don't have the concept of a batch of refund checks. Yeah.
Right, but good idea. And if you can go to that feature request forum and post that idea, we can bring that in and give you the ability. I'll say, I like to say a lot of things don't seem so hard, but then we've also found in development, nothing is easy no matter what you do. But yeah, that's something that we could certainly accommodate. If you have a need to, if you issue a lot of refunds, let us know.
And again, they should use the feature from the community that Mary talked about earlier. By provide them feedback, and that way they know that that you need it. All right.
There are several questions relating, Brian, to where you would go to find that report if you run it from a flow, right? And so it's really just going to show up on the financial reporting results. So if I go here, and this was a question, I think it's a good idea. Again, if it's an idea you want to put in the forum, because right now you would just need to, to pick it up. Whatever report it is, you would have to go to that reports page and you would see it. Now I haven't run a balance sheet. Let me look at the trial balances. I know I've done some trial balances. You'd pick it up there. That's where they would go to pick up that report. But that is interesting question, and maybe we can do a little more with that, Brian, to not only produce this, but then send, give them the ability to send it to someone. We'll take a look at that.
Yes, one other question, and I think it was as much of a request as a question. And that was where we've come in and we've said, you can now auto post each of the different pieces separately and when you need to.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, though, the automatic post option is still all or nothing. So you can't say, oh, I don't want to auto post the cash receipt. That's not available yet. That's something that we'll put in as a request for you. But at the moment, it's only one. You can only, if you want to turn off auto posting, you turn it off for everything. And then you can run your auto posting when you need it, as you need it.
One of the things you can do is set the approval status to anything other than approved, and then of course that won't be picked up when it's auto posting. But yeah, that might be another field that we consider adding, so you can exclude certain records from the auto post. Great idea. All right, so we are out of time. What we'll do is take a look at the rest of these questions and try to get back to you on all of your questions here. We really appreciate your time today. Thank you for joining the webinar. And again, we love to hear from you. So please submit any questions you have, either through the support portal or submit those feature requests in our community. Thank you, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day.
Thank you.